Hello guys, I don't know why I started on this page. I don't actually have anything to say. Whoops. Welcome back to Matsuribayashi. Satoshi has been rescued, though he is still in a rough state, and Tomotaki was also rescued, so everything is literally going pretty good right now. We'll see if Okanodi or Takano, since they both seem to be entering the fray on a more personal level, can do any actual damage, or is this gonna be a complete stomp? We'll see though. Takano didn't have enough stamina to walk around in the mountains. She was running out of breath, but even so, she continued to scream at the mountain gods on the radio. She wasn't using an intercom like the mountain gods were. Instead, she was using the communication unit on the back of one of the gods, so he constantly had to listen to her yelling.
どいつもこいつも頼りないったらありゃしない。それでも特殊部隊なの？天下の山犬はどうしたというのよ。
Losing on a mountain. Takano bit her lower lip and squeezed her left arm with her nails. Her arms had nail marks all over them. She was holding her grandfather's research scrapbook in her left hand. Even Takano didn't know why she was holding it. Maybe she grabbed it unconsciously because she wanted her grandfather to comfort her. The mountain gods had already suffered devastating damage. They had to walk around in the area they weren't familiar with, and they wasted their energy on the multitude of traps that had been set. Although they were as tough as can be, they were getting exhausted. Hey, sometimes you need to attack, bro.
ウグイス1よりウグイス13。用心しろ。お前の左翼が沈黙した。今度はお前が狙われるぞ。
ふざけるなよ。なんだってんだよ。俺かよ、畜生。
He panicked. The same thing kept happening. His team members had gone down one at a time, starting from the left flank. And he was next. Did that mean the enemy was coming from his 9 o'clock? No, those demons didn't think normally. On this mountain, being aware of 360 degrees around yourself wasn't enough. Even being cautious of the ground below your feet and the sky above your head wasn't enough. Where are they fucking coming from? Those bastards, come here, come the fuck at me. Nightingale 3 held his taser in front of him as he looked around timidly. This taser could have been a powerful weapon, but it was far more effectively used indoors. On this mountain, it was almost worthless. Nightingale 13 heard a noise behind him from a bush. He thought he saw something, so he fired his taser. The electrodes flew out into the bush. Did he just imagine it? He felt a tug on his taser. The cord from the taser was stuck in the bush, so he couldn't rewind it. It wasn't useless before, it had certainly become that way. If it wasn't useless. Then he heard a noise behind him, and this time he saw someone coming at him. But his weapon was useless. The newcomer growled at him. Hanyu. For some reason, I was imagining Keiichi coming out with a bat, not Hanyu with the ow wow 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 wow. It's the most threatening growl. Sorry, can we get a replay of that? Jesus. That was all it took. Because he was so scared he didn't think. That was exactly what Satoko expected. Satoko, who was up in the tree, dropped a metal bucket on his head. The classic. It landed perfectly. The bucket had some drawings on it. What were they? They were drawings of a strange unknown creatures. They somehow resembled those strange creatures you see on educational TV programs. Nice. As Rena jumped out from another bush, she hit the bucket with a stick. No, maybe it should be described as a strike instead of a hit. The man flew backwards. Keiichi was ready for them. They're really bouncing him around. The stance he was in looked a bit like... That's it. He looked like a batter in a batter's box. He was on 1 foot. That was the legendary 1 foot swing created by the one world-famous baseball player. Destructive force can't be measured from just one direction. It's a function of both speeds added together. Both Keiichi's strike and the speed of his opponent created a truly amazing destructive force. A home run bunt? How do you even do that? With an exhilarating and magnificent sound, the mountain dog flew into the air in the opposite direction. Bunting with a home run. Thought he was swinging on him. Then he rode down on the ground and stopped. There Rika awaited him. It was almost as though they were calculated that he would end up here. There. Rika patted the bucket happily. This comforting moment for Nightingale 3 only lasted for a second. Mian shot a taser at his butt. Nightingale 13 jerked for a moment, then went limp. Keiichi and Rena jumped on him and tied his hands behind his back with wire. Hanyu and Satoko high-fived. While Keiichi and Rena tied Nightingale 13 up, Rita tried to sense something in the air. What is that, her UAV? Oh my god. It worked. Rika reported to Mion. She was a bit like a radar. The meep senses. Mion didn't even care about the guy they had just knocked out. She was already trying to figure out their next move while looking at Satoko's map and using the info Rita gave her. Everyone eagerly awaited Mion's next order. Yeah, dude, I knew it. Mian was a great leader. She had both leadership skills and tactical ability, but more than anything, she was great at encouraging people's spirits. There are no cowardly soldiers under a brave general, and brave soldiers fight like 1,000,000 men under Mion's command. Nobody could stop Mion and her club members. Both Mion and Otenoji's original estimates were too low. Now Otenoji was thinking something else. Before they started the siege, he likened one of them to be a well-trained platoon. But that didn't fit anymore. They were on par with an elite armed division. foot soldiers couldn't beat an armed division. What Otonodi had was just a company. Where there was air support or bombardment from a warship or an artillery base, where was? Otonodi needed someone to pump the mountain full of holes. If he couldn't have that, he needed a submarine to fire a nuclear weapon. If he couldn't have that, he wanted to retreat. Otonodi no longer doubted it. The enemy commander was a genius. Under a mighty commander, all soldiers become heroes. He wanted to see the face of the commander, or at least he wanted to know their name. But then Otonodi remembered that demons used to live in Hinamizawa. He also realized the commander had to be a demon.
ウグイス13沈黙。
大鳥4沈黙。こちらひばり10。子供の笑い声が聞こえる。包囲された。
So spooky, dude.
頼む、助けてくれ。ひばり10、退却しろ、退却しろ。退却ってどっちにだよ。大鳥ないんだ。敵の一人を発見、追跡している。
No, it's a trap.
大鳥ない。どこにいるんだ。所在地がわからない。周辺の状況を送られたし。霧が出てる。
A fog.
寒い。ここは河原。大鳥ない。地図上ありえない。落ち着いて状況を確認しろ。
He's in the afterlife.
そんな河原の向こうに。
Oh my god, he actually is.
大鳥ない。大鳥ない。応答しろ。大鳥ない。沈黙。無理だ。奴らはこの山の鬼だ。俺は知ってる。これは鬼隠しなんだ。俺たちは全員この山で消されちまうんだ。バカなことを口走るのはやめろ。各班長は採点庫で状況把握と指揮公用に努めろ。敵は悪魔なんかじゃない。ただのクソガキだ。ビビるな。格の違いを見せてやれ。
What is that on you laugh? That's kind of cursed.
聞こえる。誰のインカムから聞こえてるんだ。俺じゃない。俺じゃない。
クマだ。
What?
大鳥3だ。ここには野生のクマがいるのか。聞いていない。大鳥は一度撤退し、下記の武装の検討を。バカ言うんじゃねえ。いくら野号。
Honestly, you guys probably need guns to win. Because they are doing a lot of baiting, so if you could shoot them, you'd win. Not that I want them to win, but you know, just some brainstorming.
連中のハッタリだ。乗せられるな。
人の身に過ぎたるを知らぬ愚かなる人間たちよ。汚すことを許されぬ聖地を踏み荒らす罪を知るがいい。我に感謝せよ。聖地を汚した罪をあがなう機会を与えしことを感謝せよ。
Spooky on you.
誰かのインカムを奪ってやがるんだ。敵の指揮減退戦術に乗るな。
恐れを知ることかなわぬ哀れな人間どもよ。よかろう。汝らがその身でしか知ることができないというなら、我がそ。
ウグイスマンだ。光栄が来ていない。バカな。どこへ行った。応答しろ。
哀れなウグイスが一羽踏み込むこと許されぬ地に迷い込む。そんなにも知りたいか。鬼の世を知りたいか。告げよ。人の世に別れよ。我が忠告に耳を重ぬ具を今より知れ。
Ichi.
誰の姫だ今のは。ウグイス、天候を取れ。
He's role playing a defeated mountain dog.
誰が沈黙した？それより本部、俺の左肩には誰かいるんだよな。俺は孤立してるんじゃないよな。
まだ聞きたいか。痛みを伴う声が。
なんだよ今の音。何がひしゃげたらあんな音になるんだよ。
俺昔電車の飛び込みを見たことある。あん時と同じだ。全身がひしゃげる音だ。
嫌だ、そんな死に方ごめんだ。死にたくねえ、死にたくねえ。やめてくれ山の神様。俺も好きでやってるわけじゃねえんだ。給料もらってやってるだけなんだ。
ウグイスワンより本部、ダメだ。士気の高揚は困難。隊員の脱落と士気低下は深刻。これ以上の戦線維持は困難。損害が増えるだけだ。
だから落ち着けウグイスワン。他の隊員は野戦の素人ばかりじゃねえか。お前はあの地獄の卒業生だろうが。そうお前が混乱してどうするんだ。落ち着け。お前が顔を示せ。
Ninja one's a beast, apparently.
本部、
Oh, never mind.
スワンが応答しない。そんな、あの人がやられるなんてダメだ。やっぱり悪魔だ。
ダメだ。くそ。敵は心理戦までこなしやがるのか。ガキどものくせにプロの不正規戦部隊に指揮減退戦術まで仕掛けやがるというのか。
Radios are usually helpful communication tools, but in this case, they backfired. The club members took an intercom from a mountain dot they knocked out and used it to corner the other members psychologically. It worked even more effectively because they were in enemy territory and were unfamiliar with the terrain. The best solution would be to make everyone stop using the intercom, but that would give the enemy more chances to attack them individually. Okanori was growing fearful of the club members as he still hadn't grasped their true identities. However, Takano still hadn't realized how serious the situation was. She kept yelling at the mountain dots to get their act together. Okanori could tell she was exactly the type of commander who only commanded to attack and let her men die. But Takano's reckless orders were working in a way. Although the club members were winning, their area of operation was getting smaller. The club members were trying to lure the enemies to one trap after another. In other words, they were defeating the mountain dots by allowing them to come into their territory. The mountain dots were about to be annihilated, but the curtains were closing on the club members' theater too. Okanori realized his enemies were trying to finish this battle in a hurry. If the mountain dots fell back, everything they'd done would be for nothing. He didn't want to, but he had to follow the princess's order. Okanori figured he was finally about to get his enemies. Hanyu and Keiichi continued to act over the commandeered radio.
あのドスは波の人間にはちょいと無理だよ。だって神様なのですから。ニパー。それを言ったらケイイチもすごい。
He was pretty dead.
鶏の首を絞めたみたいなすごい悲鳴を出してましたです。こんなのケイイチさんには朝飯前ですわよ。
Yeah, dude, the true? I haven't said it in a while, but remember all the times it said Keiichi's hand sounds the best when he's yelling? I think this kind of counts. Dude, they're acknowledging it.
何しろ我が部の通り名は口先の魔術師でございますもの。
へへへ。相手が人で耳がついてる限り 誰だろうと俺様の K1 マジックで思いのままに操ってやるぜ。
You should become a voice actor. I bet you'd be famous.
聞こえる？私は高野よ。三頭陸佐よ。あんたたちの最上位の上司よ。聞きなさい。鬼もいないし神様もいないわ。もしいるなら戦いなさい。神などその座から引きずり下ろしてやるのよ。ヒバリとウグイスは合流して戦力を立て直しなさい。大鳥は白鷺の残存と合流。敵は山頂付近の営林署の資材小屋あたりを本拠地にしている模様。交渉を取られてるわ。こちらの動きが筒抜けのはず。奇襲はあって当たり前よ。差し違えてでも倒しなさい。
サンサ、武装に戻る許可を。
True.
奴らを制圧するにはテーサーでは無理です。
許可できるわけないでしょう。
That's not.
私たちは今奴らを完全に包囲して追い詰めているのよ。ここで引けば取り逃がすわよ。
That is true. I just can't just go back.
私たちはあいつらの首に両手をかけてる。あとは締めるだけなのよ。
At the same time, Otonori received another radio call. Using that line meant his caller didn't want Takano to hear the conversation. Otonori understood the meaning of that, so he walked away from Takano and answered quietly.
指揮者より大鳥は緊急事態です。診療所研究区画が襲撃を受けたようです。
Uh-oh.
エントランス区画への侵入者警報を受信しましたが、すぐに解除されました。ご法事の手続きによらない解除です。状況の確認を求めていますが、無線に応じません。現在研究区画の武装保安隊も含め全員が沈黙しています。
Otonori understood everything. He had been fooled. He suspected a diversion, but he never even thought that the heavily armed security unit of the Mountain Gods could be bested. If the enemies were soldiers in camouflage, then he wouldn't have been fooled. He underestimated them because he thought they were kids. But now he really understood. He understood the reason why no adults had shown up in this battle on the mountain.
わかった。そいつは東京の格好。
Cuckoo!
まだです。連絡しますか。
連絡しろ。富武は奪還され脱出。村境で封鎖線を張らせてるが、武装保安隊を秒殺した連中だ。RPG 一機では難しいだろう。
封鎖線に応援を送りますか。
バカ。そんな余剰人員があったらお姫様が突撃させてるぜ。今、手が空いてるのはむしろお前くらいだ。封鎖線に連絡。車両の強行突破に備えろと伝えろ。
了解。
了解。警戒を厳にする。各自聞け。診療所が襲撃され捕虜を奪われたとの連絡が入った。敵はおそらく車両にて強行突破を試みるものと思われる。
RPG を準備。
Oh god.
他は一斉射撃で蜂の巣にしろ。
All the RPGs? Couldn't you like fire one at a time just in case they do something fancy?
射殺許可は出ているぞ。
I guess it's like a good way. Like a cluster attack, but I don't know, dude. One of the mountain gods nodded and opened a narrow case in the trunk of the van. In that case was a powerful anti-tank weapon designated RPG-7. This was a weapon that many said changed the history of modern warfare. After all, this terrifying weapon has had a firing range of over several hundred meters, and it was capable of burying most tanks in existence. The dawn of this weapon meant that we were now in an age where a lone foot soldier possessed the firepower to destroy a tank. It was capable of reshaping the history of warfare. That was the RPG-7. Each of the other 4 members had an MP5, the weapon used to destroy the tire on Irie's car. There's no question that the Blockade team was well armed. They waited in the van until the enemy vehicle showed up. Once they saw a suspicious vehicle, they were planning to stop it by moving into the middle of the road. They intended to destroy the vehicle by firing all at once. They were all watched very carefully for suspicious vehicles coming from Hinamizawa. This was the only road that connected Hinamizawa to Okinomiya. It would take more than half a day to get there if they tried to use a different route. Their blockade was where the gravel road changed to a paved road. A famous spot, dude. It was what people called the village border, and was their last chance to stop anyone from leaving. Hinamizawa was at a higher elevation from that point, so the vehicle would be coming downhill. They were probably expecting a barricade as well as heavy resistance from the mountain dogs. If they wanted to pass the point, the only way could be by force. They could start a gunfight, but it would take too much time. Since they didn't want to waste any, they should avoid unnecessary conflict. Rumble. Someone's stomach growled, but nobody made fun of it. That was understandable since all the members were getting ready for a battle. Nobody even wanted to laugh. They looked at the clock. It was almost noon. Of course they'd be getting hungry. At that time, they heard a noise coming from the direction of Hinamizawa. Obviously, the car was driving very fast. The van moved to the middle of the road and stopped there. Some of them hid behind the van, and some hid in the bushes on the other side of the road. They pointed their guns at the suspicious vehicle coming towards them. The car must have been going very fast, but this was a straight road. No matter how fast it was going, it couldn't escape. I think there's no one in and they put like a brick or something. Maybe. But I mean, they said it's a straight road, but also like, it's kind of like that. But, I don't know. We'll see. That car happened to belong to Kasai. The shining black paint and the sound of the engine made it clear that it was a very nice car. RPG-7 fires unguided rockets. Therefore, hitting a quick-moving target is extremely difficult. In this case, however, their target was straight ahead. If the car tried to swerve suddenly, it'd flip. If that was the case, it wasn't necessary to shoot directly at it. Besides, according to what Kasai said, its power can easily flip a car without a direct hit. Even if there was only one chance to fire, the mountain dogs were definitely in an advantageous position. Okay. This is gonna get messy if they don't actually have a plan. The mountain dogs aimed at the vehicle. It was coming right for them. Range me, bro. The mountain dogs in the bushes laid in wait, ready to fire. The rocket on the tip glinted eerily, like it was waiting for its prey. The soldier put his finger on the trigger of the RPG-7. We're flying! Huh? What happened? Didn't the RPG-7 fire? That was when the one measuring the distance next to the shooter noticed something. The shooter's shoulder had been hit and he was tumbling to the ground. Only their regular guns could stop the car now. The other mountain dogs fired all at once, but immediately they realized something. The car had been hit by a hail of bullets at close range. Any normal car would have been on fire in short order. It's a Yakuza car, though. But there's nothing. This wasn't a normal car.
そりゃそうです。園崎家御用達の防弾リムジンですから。
The Sono limo.
火災 RPG を観測手が拾った。撃たせるな。
この距離で外すと。
So Tasai's sniping. And Xian's spotting. Xian and Tasai were far beyond that straight road. They're in the enemy's blind spot on the other side of the hill, on top of an abandoned car. Xian was on her knees, checking the mountain dot's movements with a pair of military-grade high-powered binoculars. Tasai was lying on top of the car with a sniper rifle in his hands. Xian figured this would be where the mountain dots would place their ambush, so the only way for them to beat the dots was to snipe at them. Both Xian and Tasai took sniping lessons in the US during the damn conflict. Tasai was now aiming at the man who picked up the RPG and was trying to take position with it. Again, the RPG wasn't fired and was down on the ground. The two who had tried to shoot were groaning and clutching at their wounds. They were both shot in the shoulder. The wounds wouldn't kill them, but they definitely couldn't fire that rocket. The car had arrived. The mountain dot screamed and dove out of its way. Akasaka must have been used to driving in this kind of situation. He hit the nose of the van just right and broke through the blockade. The van was hurled away and spun in a circle. As the mountain dots tried to get back in the van, Xian and Tasai shot at them. The scope on the sniper rifle is one specifically made for sniping. Therefore, its field of vision is so narrow that the sniper is unable to see their surroundings well. That's why it's always necessary to pair up with a spotter. The spotter uses powerful binoculars to probe the situation and communicate information to the sniper. Snipers can't do their job alone. Their potential is unleashed only when paired up with a spotter equally as skilled. They try to stand up and climb into the van, but the ultra-velocity rifle bullets pin them down. The bullets rip through the air, traveling faster than the speed of sound. The noise those bullets created was nothing like the sound from a normal gun. It almost sounded like the Grim Reaper himself was swinging down his scythe. Furthermore, they could see the mountain dots, but the dots couldn't see them. Only those who actually experienced being sniped at could understand this fear. There was a driver and one mountain dot in the van. They had to leave, otherwise it would be too late. The driver made a snap judgment and slammed on the gas pedal. Komatake opened a window near one of the black bat seats and leaned out. Hot air blew into the car. Though the car was jolted up and down on the bumpy road, he checked the mechanism of his gun calmly. He did it naturally, as though examining his favorite camera. The gun had been taken from one of the security guards in the basement. One of the dogs in the van held the same gun in his hands. Their weapons were evenly matched. The road was no longer straight, it curved like a snake. There were some bumps and sharp curves, which made things in the car fly all over. A gunfight in this situation would be extremely difficult. Komatake realized he'd run empty in no time if he wasted bullets, so instead of firing recklessly, he carefully waited for the right distance. And in doing so, tried to convince his enemy they were still out of range to make them close the gap. On the other hand, the mountain dogs couldn't take it any longer. He fired, wasting his bullets on the bumpy road. Some of those bullets hit the body of Kasa's car, making a nasty metallic noise.
富武さん、身を乗り出していては危険です。大丈夫。あんな下手くそじゃ当たらないよ。僕の生徒だったらゼロからやり直しだな。このような状況下では動きを読む。挙動を予測し、弾幕で予測射撃をするんだ。当てようと思わない。弾幕に突っ込ませるようにするんだ。こういう風にね。
Tomataki fired for the first time after cautiously waiting for the perfect moment. Those who understood guns would be fascinated with his shooting form. His stance was so firm he didn't lose control, even in the violent bursts of shots. Yet there was no unnecessary tension and just enough slack. Despite being in such an anomalous position as leaning out of from a car, Tomataki was shooting very precisely. It was nothing like what the mountain dogs did earlier. Who would have guessed mountain dogs not doing stuff properly? He shot at the right time, so his bullet went where it was supposed to go. It was hard to believe that they were using the same gun. Nasty metallic sounds etched themselves into the body of the van, which made the mountain dogs realize just how good Tomataki was. The rumors? Oh. Kinda made sense why he's buddy-buddy with the bloodhounds. Dead-eye Tomataki. Tomataki started to aim for the driver's seat to pressure them to give up. The mountain dogs could tell they were in a predicament. Tomataki was capable of hitting his targets easily even on such a bad road. Furthermore, they were in a bulletproof limousine, while the mountain dogs were in a regular van. The van, which incidentally was facing the limousine in pursuit. All his shots had just been warning ones. Unless the mountain dogs called off the chase, Tomataki would start shooting at them soon enough. They had no chance of winning. Oh. Well, another W.
諦めたようだね。向こうは速度を落として。あれだけの銃撃戦をしたのに全く平静なままですね。相当の爆発をお見受けします。訓練の賜物さ。
Tomataki, having slid back into the car, raised his fist in victory. It was as easygoing as ever, even after a gunfight. Akasaka felt like he was finally getting to know Tomataki for the first time. Uh-oh. Oh, you got the phone call, dude. Tomataki was making a call from a telephone booth outside of Otonomiya. The phone lines around there were on a different network than the ones the mountain dogs had sabotaged. That was why he could make the call. Tomataki called Tokyo immediately. He told Tokyo that there are some spies from the mountain dogs within Tokyo's research division, which is how they found out where he was. He also told them that he was captured, but that he had escaped. He told them that they were fooled by the diversion and that they were on the mountain as they spoke. While he was captured, Major Takano, the ringleader, had hinted at the existence of masterminds she was working for, etc. He explained everything that he had learned thus far.
彼らはすでに地上での発砲を繰り返しており、このままでは村人に発覚するのも時間の問題です。番犬の緊急出動を強く要請します。もしもし、調査部の
おか。
無事でよかった。番犬はすでにひなみ沢地区の南方30キロで空中待機してる。こちらも上層部に鎮圧命令を求めていたのだが、石頭どもが事なかれ主義で渋りやがってな。だが君が無事ならば話が早い。君の話はすぐにトップに説明する。許可はすぐ出るだろう。20分以内に番犬は到着する。つい今、高野三佐と小此木兄に逮捕命令が出たぞ。入江機関の即時制圧と山犬への武装解除命令も出た。
Oh, that was fast.
君のおかげだぞ。でかした。
Tomotaki walked out of the telephone box.
話はつきましたか？ええ。番犬部隊が鎮圧に緊急出動するそうです。すでに近くに空中待機していて、20分ほどで吸収するそうです。どの程度に強いんですか？その番犬という連中は。
Pretty strong. They've been hyping them up this whole arc, basically.
山犬が機密保持のための多目的部隊だとしたら、番犬は戦闘のみに特化した精鋭部隊です。装備も人材も比べ物になりません。おそらくあっという間でしょうね。
Akasaka looked at his watch. It was about 12:30. The bloodhounds would arrive in about 20 minutes. Akasaka remembered how hungry he was. It was lunchtime already. If he was brave enough, he would head to a noodle shop, and by the time he was done, everything would have ended. For the mountain dogs who have fought well until the last possible moment, it was an ending rather too soon. They were in an area where rice fields and residential area mix. It was the border of Otonomiya. The sun was covered by a thin layer of silver clouds, and a cool breeze was blowing. It looked like it might even rain a little. The two of them couldn't even remember how many times their lives were threatened that day. They wanted nothing more than to let the rain soak their bodies. After a while, Akasaka spoke.
どうしますか、富武さん。どうするって何をね。私、ひなみ沢へ戻ろうと思っています。まだみんな戦ってる。そうだね。
No, Tomotachi is going back, dude.
でもいいのかい？一度はくぐり抜けた視線だよ。リカちゃんが待ってる。まだ約束は果たし終えていません。なら戻ろう。僕も用事があってね。ちょうど戻ろうと思ってたんだよ。赤坂さんはヘリの旅の経験はあるかい？乗せてもらえることになってるんだ。
Yo, ganked them with a helicopter. They watched the breeze blowing over the rice fields for a while, then returned to the bullet-ridden car. The car started up quickly, and they drove it back the way it came. It was only noon. There was still plenty of time before the Watanashi festival began. Yo, I think we're gonna end it here. It's a little early, but you know, we went through like, even though there's no chapter baits, you can kind of tell we hit through like two little parts there. Plus, I'm kind of like, I didn't mention it, but I'm also kind of like stuffed from dinner, even though it's been like almost 4. Oh, it's been like 4 hours and I'm still full. It's a little uncomfortable, but I had a great time, dude. It's basically like checkmate, because the whole manual thing isn't gonna happen regardless of what happens, unless they kill Rika right away, then convince them that, oh look, now we have to do the manual. So I guess it isn't over, but 20 minutes until the battle is resolved. What will happen next? I don't know. Besides the Mountain Gods losing and Tomotaki convincing Tatano to surrender. That's my prediction. Again, I'm still hoping for I don't even know what to call it. An ending where Tatano does not die, because that would be sad. But we're gonna end it here. Thank you guys for watching as always. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And next time we'll I think we'll probably flip back to the club members and see how they're doing versus Takano. But yeah, until then, bye for now.